Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to the channel. So glad you're here. My name's Gavin. This is my true crime channel. We are going to be digging right back into the Madeline Soto case. Madeline Soto is a 13-year-old little girl in Kissimmee, Florida, and she went missing on February 26th of 2024. I'm using my air quotes here. Went missing. After a search, her body was found, but not before her mom's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Stephan Stearns, was arrested because there was evidence that he had been SAing her for years, and then ultimately he was charged with her murder. And tonight what we're going to be doing is listening to an interview of her mom's, let's put up mom here, mom is Jenn Soto, her mom's ex-husband, guy named Stephan Young. This is the only photo that I have of him. It's actually a zoom up on a photo with him and Stephan Stearns. It's from like Instagram. But because I don't like to look at Stephan Stearns all that much, it's just Mr. Young. So this will be the first part of listening to his interview, which is about 50 minutes long. So we'll be doing 25, 30 minutes tonight. Tomorrow night, we will do the rest. If you're new here, I have a little filter on the comment section in my software here. So if you want me to see anything that you are saying to me, just put GF in the comment, and that will help me to see your comment. And I like to go through the comments. I answer some of them along the way. Some of them I save for later. Some of them I just read. But anyway, if you would like me to see your comment, put GF in the comment and I will see it. Okay. Are there any other, before we get started, guys, yesterday we talked a little bit, and I've been looking at the comments ever since. We talked a little bit about, because we were listening to the recording of Maddie's biological father, a guy named Tyler Wallace. And we were talking about, had Maddie been given time, she would have thrived. She had the she had the same value and the same everything that all of us have. And while she had lived for over a third of her life being abused terribly, she had that value, and she had the ability to overcome had she been given that time. And I've had that in my mind ever since. And a lot of people disagree with me in the comments, and I don't mind disagreements. That's fine. But there were two things that popped up as I was looking through social media over the last, let's say 12, 18 hours. One of them was a quote from Terry Irwin, who is the widow of Steve Irwin, where she was talking about how you never get over grief. Grief becomes your companion, and the sun will shine again. It'll be a little dimmer, but it will shine again. And I thought about that with somebody like Maddie. Had she been given the time, the trauma would have been her companion for her life, but she still had a bright future ahead. Right. Let's see. The other thing I saw was an interview. If you guys don't watch the podcast Where Everyone Knows Your Name, or listen to the podcast, it's on YouTube. It's also on all the podcasting channels. It's called Where Everyone Knows Your Name with Ted Danson and Woody Harrelson sometimes. And they interviewed their old co-star and friend, what is his name, plays Frasier, Kelsey Grammer. And it turns out that Kelsey Grammer had, like, the first 20 years of his life was nothing but like death and despair, and tragedy over tragedy over tragedy. And he also talked about how, it informed the way he lived his life, but he has had a good life. And I don't know, I was just thinking about Maddie overnight about this. She had a rough early childhood, but had Stephan Stearns, this guy, according to police, not done that ultimate act of taking her life, man, I just think that she had all the potential in the world. Especially when I look at this photo, she had all the potential in the world. And I think that's the reason why we care about this case so much, right? That she was an innocent girl who had been suffering abuse for a long, long, long time. But we're going to get in to this interview with Stephan Young. Let's see, there is Renee says, Gavin, can't you quit your day job and do this exclusively? I need more Gavin. That's kind of you to say. First of all, I love my day job. My day job's rad, but it would be pretty incredible if I was able to do this full time. It would be great. And I think in order to do that, Adstein 631 says, we need to get Gavin to 100K plus so he can make this a full-time job. Yeah, like sponsors and stuff. Like if we're going to get into the nitty-gritty inside baseball, sponsors really don't want to talk to you when you're below 100K. But we're actually pretty close. If we go over to the analytics, man, look at us. Look at us grow. This community is growing 94,640 right now. Pretty rad, pretty amazing. And I'm grateful to each one of you who joins me along the way. Okay. Let me bring, let's see, Lil Miss Chit Chat, new to the channel. Welcome. Love the channel. Thank you. Very authentic, very transparent. I appreciate that. DM says, Madeline could have grown up to help other victims of SA, which she was definitely a victim of. And Betty Spaghetti says, she had her whole life ahead of her. Being a victim doesn't make her life worth any less, and she had just as many opportunities as anyone else. Yeah, she would have had a tough road to hoe. I mean, we don't want to minimize what she went through, but she had the same potential, right? And I brought up like Danielle Winkowski, Amanda Winkowski's sister yesterday. And I don't know, I think about this a little too much. I was on the phone with Sandy Greenberg last night. She and I are kind of buddies. She is in many ways, we have kind of a mother-son relationship. I don't say that to belittle because her relationship with her daughter, she's definitely her daughter's mother. But we have that kind of relationship where I check in with Sandy and so forth. But I think about, as I was talking with Sandy, what Ellen could have accomplished. And it could have been something huge that affected myriad people, or it could have been something tiny that affected one person, but either way, it would have been huge to the people it affected, right? Anyway, I think that's why I care about these cases so much. They're just so heartbreaking, and it reminds us of the human element in all of this, to not just be stuck kind of looking at the ugliness in humanity. I don't know. I think I've waxed a little too long on that. So let's go ahead and we'll bring Maddie up on the screen so that we remember who we're talking about here. And this is Stephan Young, again, her stepdad for a short time. Okay, so here we go. Make sure you guys can hear it. Yeah.
This is weird.
Oh, sorry. I have enhanced this audio a little bit. I had a little time to do that. I didn't go crazy on it. I just enhanced it a little bit, brought the volume up a little bit, took the noise down a little bit. And I shortened the redactions on this one. So you will hear the redaction that it's there, but it's shorter than what it was on the recording, just so we don't kind of have to wait for audio to come back. Here we go.
All right, just a few formalities real quick.
I understand exactly why. I know a lot of these people involved.
Yeah. All right, the date is March 5th, 2024. The time is 2:19 p.m. We are at the Kissimmee Police Department. Reference to case number 24001896. Person present are myself, Detective Morris, Detective Smallwood. And your first name?
Stephan with a V.
And last name?
Young. Young.
Phone number? And your address?
So that's the example of the redactions.
It's not an apartment. It's a home. But.
All right. And your birthday?
December 2nd, 1988.
All right, before we get started, can you just raise your right hand for me? Do you swear and affirm that the statement you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth, to the best of your knowledge, so help you God?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I have a feeling you know why you're here, why you came to Florida, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There's an investigation into a young lady named Madeline, her death. Okay. Throughout the investigation, we spoke with Jennifer, Madeline's mom, and she said that you and her were married at some point. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when that was?
We were married on March 14th, 2015. I can remember that because it's Pi Day. 3.1415. We divorced, I think, in 2016, maybe 2017. It'd be in Kissimmee Records, though. It was done here in Osceola.
By the way, that comment about it was Pi Day 31415, maybe he is the biomechanical engineer that Mr. Wallace was talking about. That seems like a very nerdy thing. And again, those of you who have been around for a while, I celebrate nerdiness. I love nerdiness. I'm not putting him down. It just seems, because I love it, but it just seems like a very nerdy thing to be married on Pi Day, right? So maybe he was the biomechanical engineer.
The county.
Okay. Where did you meet her?
Online. OkCupid.
OkCupid is like a dating site or something like that? Okay.
Website. Yeah, it's like pink and blue and before Tinder and all these apps came out and stuff. Yeah, I met her on OkCupid. Kept taking my phone and took some dates on dates that I could remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for you guys to be asking about how long I've known them and stuff and whatnot. I think I met her around summer of 2013. Yeah, we were married March 14th, 2015. And I think we divorced somewhere at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, somewhere in there. But again, I know it should all be on Osceola Records.
That's fine. And when you guys were married, did you live here?
So they dated for a couple of years, it seems like, and were married for only one. And spoiler alert, I mean, there was a reason why they divorced. It wasn't just that it didn't work out.
The apartment where everything happened.
Okay, so in Phoenician Bay.
Yeah, it was her, Maddie, my daughter, and me.
Okay, did anybody else live there at the time?
Juan. Her dad.
Okay.
I think he still owns that unit, and he lived there in the bottom floor unit. Maddie had a room, my daughter had a room, and me and Jenna had a room upstairs.
What was your and Jennifer's relationship like?
It was pretty good for the first couple of years we were together. She started having some mental health issues, which...
Like what?
She would just get really depressed, and she would just kind of shut down some days. And so I'd just be on full parent duty, just take care of both kids and do the pickups and everything and do the dinner. And I was in school, I was working full time, and it was exhausting. And it just got to the point where her mental health was just stacking up, and I couldn't be there as much, and I needed to take my daughter out of that environment. And we still co-parented. Like, Maddie to me is my other daughter. I was in her life for 11 years. Like, me and my daughter, like, that was my daughter's sister. That's the only close thing she's ever had to a sister. We still have birthday gifts. We talked to her. My daughter and her best friend played games with Maddie every month for years online together. And like, I talked to Maddie all the time. I'd pop over and talk to her and ask how things were. And I thought she was in good hands.
Oh, poor
and
guy.
I know that me and Jen didn't work out, but to me, she was still a friend. And I still loved and cared about Maddie. And so I tried to be a friend to Stephan too when he came in the picture. Like, if he's in Maddie's life, I want to get to know this person. So I try to get to know him some, try to be a friend to him.
Where did you meet him?
I met him through Jen. I think she said that he had met him through a real estate company that his parents had at the time. I don't remember positions they had there.
Okay.
But she said she's involved with him, and I loved Maddie, so anybody's involved in her life I wanted to know. And so I tried to get to know him, be a friend to him. We started connecting on like tabletop games and stuff. Like, I was into D&D. I think he's introduced me like Star Wars Legion and this Robomech game. So like, I tried to play some of those with him and stuff. We went and shot guns before. I looked it up. I think we went to Tanarak. It's on the way between here and Tampa. That's a public shooting range down there. But he was just so commercialistic. And
what do you mean?
He just always wanted to buy the next thing. And like when I would invest in a game, like as I was playing the game for a while, like I've been playing the same D&D game with my sister for 2 years. It's the same campaign. Like I like playing the same thing and not reinvesting in new stuff. And it was always the next thing. And we got a little like argument one day. I went to visit them down in Northport, and I essentially called him a sellout for always buying new shit, and kind of had a little tantrum, and we just kind of stopped talking after that.
And this is we've heard this story multiple times, right? That Stephan would buy. We heard this from Chris and Deb Stearns. We heard it from Chris Stearns later. We heard it from Jenn Soto. I think we heard it from Stephan himself, but now we're hearing it from Stephen Young.
Do you think that was?
It was before COVID, because I think that, if I remember correctly, she moved back up from Northport during COVID. So I think it had to have been right before then when they were down there.
By the way, guys, I've got a little cough here, and I've got a cough button, but you'll see my picture kind of come up. That's what's happening there. I'm trying to keep the cough out of your ears. Sorry about that.
They live in a house or
they were in an apartment? We visited them once.
Okay.
But there was an apartment down there that they had in Northport.
Okay.
But yeah, me, my wife, and my daughter all visited them because we're always trying to keep the girls together because they're each other's siblings, you know, like they didn't have any biological siblings of their own, and so whenever we could, we try to keep them together.
You can hear his voice breaking.
I've tried to talk to my daughter to see if she can remember anything.
Just so I'm clear, that Jennifer is not the mother of your daughter.
No, she's not the biological mother of my daughter. That's a whole nother story. I'm not sure exactly where she's at.
Right.
She's been on the run and not paid child support for years. That's a whole other thing. But no, I have Jen, who's been like a mother to Ash, my daughter, for 11 years now. And then I have my wife, who's incredible. We call ourselves a nice blended family. We've all tried to help each other out.
That's the young lady downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we all try to help each other out. We're all friends. Now it's, really hard to look at wedding photos and stuff and seeing some of these people in it. And, but sorry, I'm a little venti right now. It's been frustrating, this whole thing, and trying to wrap my head around what happened.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So
sorry, you can ask me what.
That's okay. That's okay. Take your time. I know this is a tough time for you guys right now.
That's a great comment, PJ.
So when you would hang out with Stephen around here,
Stephan,
sorry,
no,
Stephen, Stephan, that we have a Stephan that works here.
I just need to hear the name difference for myself.
Yeah. So when you and Stephan used to hang out around here, where were you living at that time?
So we've lived in Williamsburg.
Williamsburg up John Young Parkway?
Yeah, right behind like SeaWorld area over there. I lived in Anderson, I think, when I first met him. That's up in South downtown, Anderson Street.
Okay.
That's when I first met him. He never went over there, but I would come down and visit Jen and bring Ash over there. And unfortunately, I let her sleep over there with Maddie and stuff in the same fucking house. But
I bet that memory, I bet he is so worried about that. I bet he is so worried about that. Unfortunately, I let my daughter sleep over there with him there. Oh man, that would be, already dealing with the death of who you consider to be your daughter. She's not your biological daughter, but she's been in your life for 11 years and you love her. And knowing what happened to her, and then having the nightmare possibility that it could have happened to your daughter as well. Ooh, that's rough.
Like, she would go down there and visit them, and so I think it's when I first started meeting him. I lived in South Orlando, and then
when was that? Do you remember? Roughly what year?
That was me and Jen got married in 2015. So that would have been January of 2016 that I think is when I moved into downtown Orlando. And that was there for about just over a year. Yeah. And then moved in with my wife's cousin for a few months, and then we moved to Williamsburg. And then we got a house over here in Kissimmee. Southwind. It's off 192, near Medieval Times.
Okay. Yep.
those houses back there that are almost an acre-ish. Yeah. And that's where we lived. I think police came and talked to me the other day when they're still trying to locate her body. And I think I gave them the wrong dates. I moved in 2020 to Colorado. I moved in.
Yeah, I should have introduced this here, guys. This interview is happening on March 5th. Maddie's body was found on the afternoon of March 1st. This is the early afternoon. The interview started at 2:19 p.m. on March 5th. So he knows what happened to Maddie. He knows all of it, right? That has been released or had been released at that point. He knows that Stephan was arrested for the 60 counts of CSAM and SA. And then obviously he had been arrested for Maddie's murder as well. So he knew what was going on at this point.
That house in 2020, and then I moved to Colorado in 2022.
Okay.
But I was really frazzled. The thing on the news just come up with the update, and they had just shown up like the minute that started, and stuff like trying to watch. They're trying to talk to me, and I got frazzled. So I think I did give incorrect dates on that the other day. But I moved to that house in 2020, and then to Colorado in 2022. So correction on.
That's right. So when you lived at all these places, when was Stephan with Jennifer at that point?
He was, as far as I know, they've been pretty much on for most part of the past 7 years, but a little on and off the past few.
Okay.
As far as I understood,
have you known him to have any kind of mental illnesses or anything like that you know?
Jenn always said that he had depression and anxiety, and sometimes he'd be short to temper, but she never mentioned that he got violent, because I would ask her, does he get violent when he gets angry? That's a whole other thing. Someone can get frustrated, work through it, and versus someone getting violent, and she never said he got violent. I always asked Maddie, the first few years they were together, I'm like, hey, how is Stephan? Is he treating you nice,
How old was she when they got together?
See here, when me and Jenn split up, she was 4.
Oh, wow.
She probably would have been in early elementary school, 5 or 6, but around there.
Doing the math here, maybe you guys make sure that I'm okay with my arithmetic. Keep me honest here, but as I understand, if he's saying when they got divorced, she was 4, and they were married for a little less than a year. Let's call it a year. And then they were together for 2 years before that. So when he got together with Jenn, Maddie was like a toddler. She was, oh, well, and he said, that he was in her life for 11 years. So so she was 1.5, 2 years old probably when, when he got involved with Jenn. Wow. I mean, I think about that, the bond that you make with a child when they're that young. When Kimberly and I started dating, she had 2 little sisters. She still has them. I'm not talking in the past tense because they're gone, but her 2 baby sisters, she has 3 little sisters, but her 2 baby sisters were 7, 8 months old and 4, something like that. And when we got married, they were 1 and 4. I remember that very, very well. And over the years, they're my little sisters-in-law, but they're more like little sisters to me, right? I've been in their life as long as they can remember, and they now have families of their own and children of their own and stuff like that, which is pretty amazing. But the bond that I have with those 2 women, who that relationship started when they were little girls. That is different than the relationship that I have with Kimberly's brothers, who were older, and her sister, who's just younger than her, who were grown up, right? They were, they grown up, but they were teenagers and stuff like that. So if he he entered Maddie's life when she's 1.5, 2 years old, and he stayed in her life even after divorcing her mom, plays games with her, checks in on her, talks to her, and so forth. I can't imagine the hurt that he must feel on this. This is hard to listen to for me.
But Yeah,
And you would have
7
these
years,
conversations
about 6.
when she was in
about
kindergarten, 1, 2, or second grade?
Yeah, so she would have been about 6 then when he came into her life, I think. That sounds about right. So yeah, I'd been around like first grade and stuff, because I remember I was talking to her, like, oh, you're starting school again. Like, and then I'd have Ash talk to her about what it's like to start elementary school and help me get wrapped up in that. And it's like, oh, well, how's school, how's home, you know.
Elizabeth, they dated for about 2 years. They were married for almost 1.
How's mom? She do okay, you know, because I know a lot of times, like, her grandma would take care of her some days and whatnot. So just trying to check on Jen kind of through the daughter, you know, just see how her perspective on life is and and whatnot. But
when you guys lived together, how was like the dynamic? I know you said you guys shared a room, and then Maddie had a room, and Ashlyn had a room. Is that right?
And sometimes Ash and Maddie would share a room together. I think they had a bunk bed for a little while and shared a room, and then one became their playroom. But they went back and forth. They had separate rooms.
At any point did you guys like share? I know when kids are young, they sleep with their parents and stuff like that. Did that ever happen with?
When I first met Jen, Maddie slept in the bed with Jen.
Jen, okay.
I wasn't comfortable with that at her age, unless it was like a nightmare or something like that. Then, yeah, of course, my daughter can come and join me in bed if she has a nightmare. But I felt like there's a point that, like, you just start letting them sleep on their own and self-soothe at night. So I would always encourage the self-soothe, go to bed on your own. And then after we had divorced, or after we had split up and we're on our own, I found out she was back to her own bed, or back to sharing a bed with Maddie again. And I know that, like, that's the way that her mom always did it. I know her mom, like, Maddie was always sharing a bed with her when she was little and stuff, up until, I know, at least, you know, beginning of elementary school. I don't know if it ever stopped or when, but it was grandma. She'd just go and cuddle with her at night, you know. She would do it with Jen all the time. You know, I didn't do that unless it was like a nightmare or something. I remember one time Jen was just checked out at night and tired, and she was just like, here's the kids, and they both laid in bed with me. But
was that common for her to do?
No. I can count on one hand how many times she was like, I can't, like, they're crying and I need some space tonight. And she'd go to the living room, watch TV, and just be by herself and just be, all right, cool, the kids are with me, and we'll be in bed and just hang out.
So it sounds like you and Jen have communicated frequently since you guys split up because of Maddie.
Pretty often, yeah. I always try and check up on Maddie all the time. Our friendship kind of fizzled out a little bit. We kind of talked a little less here and there as my relationship with my current wife grew. And not because of my wife. Like, they're actually great friends. It was actually my mother-in-law that thought it was weird and started getting mad and stuff. So we started scaling back our friendship for the optics of her family. But
gotcha.
But I would still always check up on Maddie. I talked to her all the time. Whenever Ash was on the phone with her, we got to pop over the FaceTime and check on her. You know, like, hey, how's it going? You know, and how's school?
How was Jen when you would talk to Jen on FaceTime or Maddie or anything like that? What was like their demeanor? Was at any point during, since you left till up to here recently, any kind of demeanor changes between Jennifer or Maddie?
Maddie seemed off for a few years, honestly. And I thought it was just, she's going through changes. It's the teenage years coming. It's the puberty, you know. I remember my daughter going through the depressive stage, you know, right at the end of, you know, elementary school. But, you know, that was where the start of COVID and stuff. So I wasn't sure, like, how much is, like, an equal comparison for a mood change. And to me, like, it seemed normal to, like, my daughter was going through. She went through a massive depression through, you know, middle school, COVID, lots of things going on. So in my head, it was just like, okay, she's going through changes. Just keep talking to her. Keep getting the two of them hang out as much as they can online. We'll get down their floors, see each other soon. Let's see if we can fly them up. You know, just trying to get more of the family aspect together. And I thought it was teenage years.
You know, that is an interesting observation. Like, you know, again, Kimberly and I have 5 kids, and 3 of them are adults now. One of them married herself, and then we have 2 littler ones. But I've gone through the teenage daughter twice and a teenage son once. And when he's talking about the last few years, like the impact that COVID-19 had on our then teenage children, well, 2 of them were teenagers at the time, they were high schoolers, and it was crazy. It wasn't obviously the pandemic. It was the social disconnectedness, I think, that made the biggest difference. But yeah, so like to extend this guy, Little Grace, who obviously loved Maddie and was trying to figure out what was going on in her life, but also at a time it's post-pandemic and she's turning into a teenager. And I joke with people all the time that our daughters, when they turned 13, like aliens abducted them and put in their place like these doppelgangers that were the worst people I'd ever met in my life. And then like a year later, aliens came back and replaced that horrible doppelganger with the daughter that I had always known and loved. That's a joke that I tell people. But yeah, Maddie going into 12, 13 years old, I don't blame him for not knowing what was going on, because that's a time of great change in a young person's life. I would argue that especially in a young woman's life, and the fact that it was just a year or two past the pandemic, where everybody was acting differently anyway. Like as far as children, they were different children anyway. I don't blame him for missing the signs. Jenn, I blame because I think that she was involved. But I don't blame Mr. Young here. I think that he was probably as attentive as he could have been, and just kind of his observation skills were veiled by the circumstances. I don't know if I'm saying that very well, but I guess what I'm saying is that I don't blame him for missing any signs that might have been there.
How long? You said that was going on for a few years, you think?
Yeah. She's kind of felt like different to talk to since like late elementary school. I don't know. Just she seemed different.
Did Jenn seem different at all?
I'll come back to this one, Jamie.
Jenn doesn't seem different. She's just seemed like she's just always trying to figure out what she needs to do with her psychologist to get by, and it feels like her like trying to figure that out with a psychologist is always like an experiment. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she's trying to figure out what to do to get herself here and to be functioning with her mental health issues, but with all the back and forth with doctors, at least in my opinion.
Guys, I'm sorry. Diana is a personal friend of mine, and Leland is about the handsomest boy. He just tickles me every time I see him. So Leland isn't having it tonight. Diana, tell him that I miss him, and I'll see him this weekend and hope he has a better night. I love that kid. Oh my goodness. He is a sweet boy.
It's just always a game of, okay, try this. And so sometimes she gets a little more checked out as they're trying different meds, and I don't feel like...
Did she ever talk to you about her
I agree, Angie.
Doctors or any kind of different medication?
I know she's been on different medication over the years. I don't know exactly which ones. I know she's tried different things. She's complained about some that have like knocked her out and, make her like super tired.
When did she tell you that?
That she has meds like that.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I've known her for a long time. She's like got through a lot of back and forth, with meds. I know I can't pinpoint a specific time period on which one.
Your relationship with her?
No, the mental health stuff started to accumulate more during my relationship with her, and that's when I was trying to get her into more therapy and stuff.
Great point, Edstein.
The understanding where she was with her mental health took some time with psychologists and therapists to figure out, okay, these are her conditions. This is how we can start figuring out certain meds that may work in some capacity. But that was after I had been there. The meds started to get figured out by doctors. It was more therapy when I was still in the house, if that makes sense.
Did she ever talk about Jenn now? Did she ever talk to you about more recently that any medication has changed or anything like that would like offset her? Or some people, when they change their medication,
I know
everything just changes.
The only thing I know that she said about her medication recently is there's a nighttime one that just knocks her out. So she takes that one at night.
When did she tell you that?
we're talking about Jenn here.
Must
right?
be when I've been recently talking to her about this in the past few weeks. Like this, or this happened a week ago. So we saw online on Monday. Yeah.
So she never mentioned that prior to.
Well, I haven't talked about her meds in a while.
Okay.
This is just recently. Because I was like, all right, so what's going on? Like, where's your head been? Like, how much do you remember right now? Like, with your meds?
What did she tell you?
Yes,
happened?
Angie.
Right. From, like, the day that Maddie went missing, when did you first hear about it?
My wife saw it online.
This is Stephan
I'm not
right
on
here.
social media, but she saw it immediately. And so I start calling, and anybody I know in Florida, I just say, please send it. Anybody. And then I was like, all right, everybody outside of Florida, if you know somebody in Florida, send it. And I was just on blow up, just anybody I can contact to share the information online she was missing.
When the first time you talked to Jenn, what did she say?
I talked to Jenn. It was either that I think it was the next day. I think it was Tuesday. I was finally able to get a hold of her. And I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to figure what happened. And she had told me... Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
That's okay.
She had told me that Maddie was missing and that Stephan had taken her to the school, but he had made a bunch of stupid mistakes and he accidentally deleted his phone and
Right.
or the other thing he said, and he forgot his phone, and Maddie forgot his phone, which didn't surprise me. My daughter forgets her phone all the time. But like him not having his phone, I felt was shocking because I remember him I always saw him with his phone. He was always on Reddit. He was always typing away at something. But Maddie, like, that didn't surprise me. Like a teenager forgetting their phone. And so, like, I call them idiots, you know? Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, not even look more guilty. Like, I thought he was innocent. Like, I thought it was somebody that was protecting Maddie. You know, I thought that they were both, you know, looking out for her. And now I don't know what to think anymore, you know? But...
Now, was this talking to Jenn over the phone or text message? Or
I think this was a phone call I had with them. I think I called. I finally like gotten a hold of her because I wanted to hear her voice, to hear her. She sounded like when she said these things. You know.
Now, when you were talking to her over the phone, like you said, you're hearing her voice saying these things. What she was saying, was that kind of like her normal tone, or a different tone, or like, how would you describe it?
It sounded like anxious Jenn. Like it sounded like something's wrong, and she couldn't wrap her head around it. Like sometimes she has to take her meds, but you can still like tell in her tone sometimes like how she is, and like I could tell she's a little muted probably from meds she had to take, but I could tell like her anxiety was at 100. Yeah, if you know, like even with some mutes, like once you know a person,
Yeah, I think her anxiety was at 100 because she knew what had happened to her daughter. That's what I think.
Had to tell like some of their tells a little bit, like just like their pace and their talking is like, oh no, you're still like amped up. And like I could tell she was like that. He was very quiet.
So you talked to him as well?
I was on speaker in the car.
Okay.
And he was there at the time, and and so like I asked her, like, so like I asked him, but he really didn't say anything. She kept just like,
what did he say?
He was like, yeah, she was there, and I feel so guilty, and I can't believe that I left my phone. And I was like, well, how the fuck would you do that? Like, it's stupid. Like, have your phone, like, wherever you go. Like, it's suspicious immediately. Like if you don't have your phone as an adult. Like, and he was like, yeah. And then I actually reset it. What the fuck, dude? And that's really all he mentioned. And then Jenn, like, reset the same thing and told me that he had dropped her off, and she thought that she had woken up at like 8:20 in the morning, and then Sailor was barking to go to the bathroom or
It's the first time I've heard the name of the dog.
So she started to get up, but he said, no, I got it. And he's like, yeah, I was trying to let you rest. And then he went and took the dog out, and then came back and said that, oh, don't worry, I'm taking May to school, and then let her keep resting because she was like going through training in a new job, and she was just really tired, and that she had called him up to come help with taking her to school and helping to get the dog and Maddie situated so she can balance the new job she just started. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all the pieces she told me and all that conversation, so it's coming out in random order. What else did she say?
That is correct.
But she told you that she was sleeping and...
There's a Stephan and a Stephen. That is correct. This is Stephen. This is Stephan. Kind of interesting.
Whatever time it was,
I don't think it
when
means
she heard
anything.
the dog barking, she was going to get up to take the dog out, and then, but Stephan took the dog out himself.
Yeah, and Stephan took the dog out himself and told her, no, it's okay, you're tired, don't worry about it. And so she went back to sleep.
Okay. Did she ever mention...
That might be the most consistent story I've heard in all of true crime. I think they rehearsed that and told everybody that story as much as they possibly could.
Going the day prior, Maddie had a birthday party.
Yeah.
With grandma.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Jen tell you why she wasn't there?
That's correct, Aida.
I understand it from her that she was just so tired from everything from work. And I'll admit, going to her family functions could be a little bit overload. She has a lot of family.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're very loving. They're very loving people. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love her family to death. Like, her mom, Yolanda, and her dad, Juan, helped me and my daughter, Ash, so much over the years, even after me and Jen split. So, like, love them to death. But sometimes they're overload. And with all her anxiety, sometimes she just can't handle them.
He is extending Jen a lot of grace here, even though Maddie has been murdered and he knows it. But having said that, I have to say, Kimberly is the oldest of 9 children. And we used to go over to family dinners the first Sunday of every month. And at family dinner would be my in-laws, all of their children. When we started having children, they would be there. Both sets of grandparents would be there. There would always be guests there. It would get a little overwhelming. Like, I got a bad attitude really fast. It took me years to be able to go, dude, this is the best. Why are you acting this way? But I think he's extending her a little too much grace. It was Maddie's birthday party. Moms don't miss birthday parties. I mean, I guess that's a big blanket statement, but I would say generally speaking, moms don't miss birthday parties.
Long period of time. So she'll go and do stuff with Maddie, for her birthday. It's happened sometimes. She's gone and done her own thing on a Saturday, and her mom was to do a big event on a Sunday, and it's just overload for her.
Got it. Okay.
Like, she'll still do stuff with Maddie. It's just sometimes she can't handle the full people, and that would be my guess. I haven't asked her specifically, like, the whole weekend sour at the lake, asking her about why she didn't go. Maybe I could have asked her. I should have asked her, but
I did see that.
Stephan at the party?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Yolanda did not like Stephan.
Yolanda is Jen's mom.
Jen's mom.
Okay.
She didn't
Any
like
idea why?
I want to know why now. I heard that like once over the years that she was a big fan of him, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just she didn't like a boyfriend, just anytime to warm up to him type of deal, and that was it. And now I'm hearing more and more she did not like him, she didn't trust him, and I want to know why. I want to ask her, like, what did you see that I missed? Because I don't want to miss this in another person. Somebody else around my daughter. I want to know what traits you see that I couldn't.
So
that is a great place to stop, and this Stephen guy, Stephen Young, is my favorite person in this entire thing. He seems like a stand-up guy, a good guy, somebody who loved Maddie, somebody who could express love to Maddie without being inappropriate in a paternal and healthy way. And that last bit where he's like, I want to know what you saw because I don't ever want to miss this ever again, shows to me that he wanted to learn from this, like we all have talked about. Zach says, what does Zach say? He is the most grounded, right? That's a good way to put it, Zach. He is grounded. let's go over. Oh, there were a couple of comments. Let's bring Maddie back up. Let me go over here. Hide this. Go back to Maddie. Couple of things. Jamie says, Gavin, thoughts about whether or not prosecution needs anything from JS with all those pictures, videos, and with regard to why she hasn't been charged with anything yet. I don't know why she hasn't been charged yet. Maybe they are making a deal with her. I feel like they're probably building a strong case against Stephan. The stuff that we have seen has been copious. We've, because it's Florida, and Florida releases a lot of data on crime, a lot of information on crime, and so it feels like there's already a lot and enough to get him convicted. But my guess is they're getting much, much, much more. And so maybe it's a complex case. It's a big case. It's under a lot of scrutiny, and they're just building a bulletproof case. And I think with the derivative use immunity that they gave Jenn, I think that there's a lot of stuff that they need to follow up on. I do think that she potentially has neglect charges coming her way. She probably has some kind of conspiracy charges coming her way. I would imagine that she would have some, why do I always forget this word? It's it's like the after the fact, before the fact. You guys know what I mean, right? Like a co-conspirator kind of thing, or an accessory. There it is. Accessory before, during, after the fact. There's a lot that could go her way. She might even be charged with some of the CSAM stuff if they can prove that she offered up Madeline in the way that people like me think she did. Maybe it's just a super complex case, and that's what they're waiting on. Also, it could possibly be that the kind of charges that they could bring against her would be charges that she could bail out from. And so what's the point if they have a good eye on her and she's not going anywhere? Those are my thoughts. I think they're probably superficial. They're probably, and this is an outsider looking in, so it's more likely that I'm wrong than right. Thank you for the super chat. Elaine says, not one adult gave AF about her. I think except this Stephan guy. I really do. Like, I think Stephen Young probably loved her a lot. Thank you for that super chat. Thanks for the comment. Art said, JS, thank you for the super chat, Art. JS couldn't get away from normal fast enough. Wow, what a great observation. Yeah, maybe she had feelings of guilt for landing such a good guy or something, or maybe she was having a mental health crisis brought on by all sorts of stuff or other things. Who knows? Maybe she had made some bad choices and she was feeling guilty about them. There's so many ifs, right? But it does feel, Art, like he was a normal guy. He certainly had baggage of his own. He was divorced. He had a daughter, and it seems like, maybe this is a little bit of a reach, and I'm sorry for this, guys, but he had custody of his daughter, which is uncommon in the justice system here in the United States. So that to me maybe indicates a little bit about the unstable relationship that he may have had with his first wife. Anyway, he does seem like a normal, smart guy, and somebody who loved Maddie and cared about her and wanted what was best for her, and missed all the signs for reasons that we talked about, or probably 100 other reasons, missed the signs that she was being abused. And I think that he's broken up about that. So let's take one more look at Mr. Young. We're going to come back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, and we're going to continue this conversation. Now, we're also, I have set up our Friday. On Friday, we are going to be talking to an expert in strangulation. He is a former police detective. I'm trying to remember his name. His name is Brian Bennett. So Detective Bennett will, man, I've got his CV right here. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Give me just a second. Yeah, you guys are not going to want to miss this. Go over, let's see if we can get it here. There we are. Let's close this. We'll kind of zoom up on it. So Brian Bennett is the guy that we're going to be talking to, and he will be here on Friday. He is has a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice from the University of South Carolina, graduate of the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, retired state police academy instructor with over 25 years of experience. He is going to tell us a lot about his experience includes providing instruction in domestic violence, elder abuse. He's a firearms instructor. Man, he's got tons and tons here, and he is going to tell us a lot about strangulation specifically, because we know that that is the cause of little Maddie Soto's death. She was strangled to death. So he is going to be coming on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And tomorrow we're going to finish out this interview with Mr. Young. Now, the last thing I want to bring up with you guys is over here on Ye Old website. You guys can contact me anytime by clicking contact. That will take you to this form that you can fill out. You can keep it completely anonymous if there are things that you want me to know, or if you want to talk with me or want to give me a tip or something like that and want to give me a way to reach out to you or a member of my team. Please go ahead and fill that out. Please remember that I do the Crime Cod newsletter. Oh my goodness, it's been way too long since I've done it. October 3rd, which was my birthday, so it's been 3 weeks. I don't want to keep that trend going, so our next newsletter will be coming out soon. Remember that my mods do this all voluntarily, so click on support and buy mods a coffee. And thank you to those of you who take care of my mods. Lastly, if you click on this little fish icon, that will take you over to the fish tank on Facebook. If you're on Facebook and that is your thing, please join the 2,400 of us that like to talk about stuff that we talk about here on the channel. And one last thing before we go, let's check in, see if there's any more growth here on the channel. There sure is. We're at 94,657 members of our community here on YouTube, which is just terrific. Trying to make it to that 100K, which, has been a dream of mine for the last 4 years, and you guys are making it happen. I deeply appreciate it. So thank you for all of your support and all of your kindness, all of your great comments and interactions, and for keeping the comments section civil and upbeat. You guys are amazing. Okay, with that, I will bid you adieu. I will see you tomorrow, 7:30, while we finish out this interview with Mr. Young. Till then, take care of yourselves. Good night. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.